this is Nisha Rawal and welcome to a new episode on the Motherhood Chronicles. Since I became a mom, a new world opened up its doors for me. On the other side of the world were strangers. We got connected because we had the same questions, the answers of which we were struggling to find. Questions from new moms who wanted to know everything about breastfeeding, weaning the child, losing post-pregnancy weight, mental health, assisted reproduction and whatnot. And that's how the Motherhood Chronicles was born. And today we shall talk on child nutrition and health, where we will discuss topics like importance of right nutrition, immunization or vaccination, frequently asked questions by mothers, malnutrition and obesity. And here comes the exciting part. Here are my two awesome panelists for today. So now I'm going to introduce Dr. Sonal Saste, Senior Consultant Pediatrician and Neonatologist at Surya Hospitals, Mumbai. Elena Varia, a mum to a 3-year-old girl, nutritionist, MSc Dietetics, BSc Food Science and Nutrition, Certified Diabetes Educator, Certified in Child Nutrition and a Lifestyle Coach. So I was going through your beautiful website, Diet Funda, and I came across this one quote that got stuck in my head. It says, our body can do anything, it is our minds that we need to convince.
So when I was studying back in the day, I was in my graduation years, I realized that not everyone has the access to a qualified nutritionist, or they may not have the time to personally go and meet a dietitian who will sit down with her or him and plan a diet for the person. So I thought maybe I can have something of my own where I make this completely digitalized. I can ask people to send across their details. I will talk to them over emails or over calls and understand their lifestyle, their routine and plan diets for them using my expertise. So this whole thing happened like 8 years back. Then I got into teaching. I was working in hospitals, and then after that I delivered my baby. Like I had to take a break. So then I started with my PhD work, and along with that I thought, okay, I can maybe bring this back to revive it again. And that's when I started practicing again online. This complete online diet counseling started, I think, 3 years back, full-fledged. And now I have realized that most of the people who come to me are either working moms or mothers who may not have the time to along with the child go and meet and see whether they'd be able to follow the plan or not. So this whole thing happened after my baby, so I think my baby was one
Inspire you.
Sort of, yeah, it channelized my energy in a different direction. And when you're a mother, you always look for something to make you feel productive in some manner, because it becomes very monotonous to do the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely. But it's really beautiful because our kids do so much for us in an indirect way as well. I mean, since you said it's been 3 years that Diet Funda began, or you revived walking on the same path again, it's been so beautiful because I was going through your website and I think there is something for everyone out there. And I think I would also give complete credit to Kavish for this, the Motherhood Chronicles, because I wouldn't have had chronicles of a motherhood if he was not in my life,
Yeah,
So
it brings many opportunities for us we may not be aware of.
Absolutely.
Before, yeah.
And it connects us in a way that is so divine, I feel, because motherhood itself is such a beautiful and unconditional emotion.
Yeah.
Super.
And it's an instinct, it naturally comes.
Yes.
And it brings the best of you,
Yes.
most important, yeah.
Welcome, dear doctor, to the Motherhood Chronicles.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thank you for being here today. And so we always have this image of doctors looking completely nerdy and studious, and you're so pretty, and it seems like you've been taking good care of yourself, which is such a good example to take care of yourself before you start taking care of others. So do you get that a lot?
No, not really. Yeah, but indeed, my kids love me. So, when they come knocking at the door, doctor, is it my turn yet? It's a real compliment, yes. Also, when they have child in these competitions where they have to dress up as one of the caregiver.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the time when they dress up. They
Like
send me,
you.
yeah, they send me pictures. She was Dr. Sonal today. So it's a huge compliment for me.
Yeah, that is
thank
so
you.
sweet. I must get Kavish to meet you soon then. Yes. You never know, maybe Kavish is going to be like a Dr. Sonal in one of his competitions. So superb. I'm so glad to have you both on the panel today. And I'm really looking forward to a productive conversation where we will bust some myths and give some insights to the people watching us. So let me ask you the first question of today. Dr. Sonal, If you could share some child health statistics today, it would be wonderful, because I think statistics really help people understand in a nutshell about where we actually stand in the world today.
True. So talking of child health statistics, so first we have to understand why we talk of child health.
Yes.
Children are tomorrow's citizens. They reflect their health status, their mortality, morbidity, reflects the socio-economic status of the country. So if you see India's population, it's 1.3 billion and still increasing while we're talking. Of that, if you check the infant, so we talk of with health statistics, the mortality rates. Mortality rates reflects the child's, country's socio-economic growth and also the GDP. So if you compare China's population, it's second, the first is China, followed by India. So in spite of the population control, their undernutrition rate, like you quoted, India's being 43%, theirs is just a 4%.
Correct.
So it is not related that if you have highly burdened population, your mortality rates could be high. So that doesn't justify.
So mortality would be like the death rate.
Death rate, yeah. So when we talk of mortality, it comes as live births. So if there's 1,000 live births who can make it, in infant mortality rate would be in India roughly between 32 to 39. So why this infant mortality rate is so high? Because you're ideally, if you say from birth till 6 years, these are very crucial years of anyone's life. If you are healthy in that period, you have grown to your fullest potential. You can make a good, healthy individual, means you have a full chance of getting good employment, good education, good accordingly remuneration, good recreation. So you're causing a cycle of good health. Similarly, if either you've been born underweight, that's why I talk of maternal nutrition while we talk. So 0 means actually begins before you're even born at maternal nutrition, followed by in your infancy, which is a very followed by your during post-birth breastfeeding. Then during your infancy, while you're growing, because you're multiplying, you become thrice your weight, birth weight by the age of 1 till 5 years. And thereafter, in fact, the flip side of the undernutrition in India is also the obesity, which could affect later in the adolescence.
Is that also a cause of mortality, obesity?
Not really, but it's a lifestyle hazard, so you get the problems early in life. So like I was telling you, one is your infant mortality, because you're most vulnerable those periods. So that's why, if you see all national rural health campaigns and all that, they're targeting to bring down this mortality rate. Yeah, so if this is 43, if this is about, 44 is the undernutrition. So mortality rates 43%. Okay, and under 5 is your ultimate. So that should come down. So yours within India is roughly about 32 to 35%. So these statistics very, very high. In US, if you go versus, they are hardly 3% to 4%.
So are you saying that mortality rate is on such a high because of wrong nutrition, poor nutrition?
Not wholly, of course, institutional deliveries, good awareness, vaccinations, schedules, if you follow them against serious illnesses, which we'll talk soon, then hygiene,
even
water, sanitation, safety.
Like
so
it's really strange. The reason why I asked you, although we're talking about child nutrition today, I also personally feel that, like you said, that it's not completely the reason of child mortality. Like if we go to see that, a lot of children deaths happen with the lower segment of the society, where women or where families belong to low income groups. And I have seen this happen quite so often, because like my maid, just about 4 days back, she didn't turn up to work. And the second day she called me and she said, somebody in her family, unka 2 years ka baby passed away. So I was like, but how? What happened? Was she unwell? That's the first thing that strikes you.
So if you see malnutrition and mortality, they're two sides of the same coin. So if you are equipped, your immunity is also nutrition, which I'm so sure she will also talk about. So immunity is built with good nutrition. So your foundation has to be good. If your foundation is good to begin with, then you're for a good kickstart, so this is...
But strangely, this was due to safety, which was the point I was coming to, and the child just fell from, a higher...
so they have that Mala system.
Mala system. And I was like, but why does this mostly happen with children? Because we have so much baby proofing or whatever it might be that we're careful about, I feel that it's also the overall attitude But I don't know how it's the approach, you know, where we feel that chalta hai, yahan pe baithe hain, wo bachcha apna kuch kar raha hai, and how even a paper could be dangerous to a young child. It could probably cut the baby, you know. So I mean, these things, and somewhere indirectly nutrition is also related to this, because just like how you said that, you know, they will procreate children that are healthier. So it's also the exposure in terms of good nutrition usually comes with somewhere, if you're financially balanced, I feel somewhere. I'm not saying completely that you have to have avocados and nuts to be, you know, you can also eat your whole grains and dal, chawal, roti, sabzi and different kind of food groups, traditional meals, correct. But I feel it's ignorance, again, illiteracy, everything just goes hand in hand, and I think that's where the child mortality rate has some effect.
Yeah, so that's why education is also an important ladder, whether, you know,
Correct.
to control child health.
Correct. And today what we are doing is educating people about child nutrition. Education need not always be reading books, or it could be in the form of anything, consuming the correct relevant content, whether it's online or anywhere else. Great. So now we're gonna move on to our second question. Elena, could you quickly tell us what are the common deficiencies in Indian children?
So the first and foremost, which I'm pretty sure most mothers already know of, is iron, because it is like, if I tell you the statistics, around 68 to 76% of total people, total children, that is preschoolers and adolescent females also, and adolescents in general combined, are suffering from anemia in India, according to the recent research by ICMR. So we have a very heavy load, a burden.
70% is too high.
It's too high. So many of us, and even mothers, if you see, so many mothers are suffering from anemia post-delivery because of the blood loss. So yeah, and a lot of this transfers to the child during pregnancy. Also, during the first few years, it is important to provide them with right amount of iron, which sadly not many are able to provide, because a lot of children turn out to be fussy. They don't eat green veggies and the required ingredients, and which is why iron deficiency anemia is on a rise. Then there is vitamin D deficiency, which is surprising, because our nation is a tropical nation. We have enough sun exposure. The reason why we are not getting sufficient vitamin D, or the reason why we are deficient in vitamin D, is because, number one, we are not allowing our children to play outside, which was the scene earlier. Like, we used to play out a lot when we were kids, but then now we have screen times and,
Controlled environments.
Correct. So because of urbanization, that is one problem. Second is use of sunscreen. So if you really want to protect your child, it's best to allow them to play outside or have some sun exposure during the hours when the UV effect is least, which is before 10 a.m. and after 4. Yeah. So this is what is missing, because we don't really allow our children to play outside.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to add, brown skin, like, the more melanin that you have, it doesn't let the UV convert your vitamin D. We all have vitamin D in our skin. So how do you get your vitamin D? Is we have it all in our skin, but we need the sunlight to convert it. Yes. So melanin blocks it. So that's how even the sunscreen. Yes.
That's
so
why there are more
complex.
skin diseases in fair-skinned people
Absolutely.
abroad, because the
Absolutely.
melanin content is low.
So here is where studies have shown a rule of thumb: breast milk is complete food for the first 6 months, but vitamin D supplementation is must in your recommended daily allowances. So when we talk of any nutrients or micronutrients, it's recommended daily allowances, which is essential for babies' physical growth and mental growth as well.
So when you say supplementation, besides the sun exposure, like you said, because that probably is one of the major sources of vitamin D. So I mean, we're gonna switch our question to this because it's completely relevant to this. What about supplementation? Do you believe that multivitamins and supplementation in the form of medicines, not just food groups, is okay in children?
Yeah, so children are ages and stages. Through certain age, absolutely, like we say 6 months, nothing is necessary, again, except vitamin D. Mother's milk is lacking. I mean, it has been tested scientifically that there's no vitamin D.
So
and
vitamin D, I'll stop you there, because you said until 6 months vitamin D. So you are talking about supplementing the child with vitamin D because mother's milk doesn't have it?
Yes. So that's one Indian Academy of Pediatric recommends. American Academy of Pediatrics, WHO, so it's part of our necessary vitamin that has to go. By the name vitamin also we say it's vital for your body. Okay, because that's where your calcium is going to get absorbed. You have excellent source of calcium in milk, but if your vitamin D is not in the adequate quantity, it's not going to translate into effectivity. So that's the reason why it's necessary, and that's why we say initially I don't know if you've seen, the kids used to have little bow legs. They always used to be concerned, I mean, we still get grandparents saying, "Ki doctor, inke paँव check karo, theek hai kya, teda lagta hai." So that they are talking about rickets, which is a disease for vitamin D deficiency.
But that's
so this
pretty
is
low
all
now, right?
very low, because now vitamin D you can also clinically test.
I remember when I was younger and we had this chapter on deficiency in children, rickets used to be one of the major chapter.
So malnutrition also high on the list is rickets. Anemia, iron deficiency anemia. So these are your indicators, and it's pretty obvious, like you can't miss them. So they are not.
So usually the top feeds are fortified with vitamin D.
Yes, top feeds are, because top feeds are derived from cow milk protein. They are humanized. Cow milk composition and breast milk composition is totally different. The protein load is high, the sodium content is high, your newborn's kidneys are immature. So fortification, you want to give it all together, So there are a couple of reasons why
alter it. Unlike mother's milk, you cannot alter the breast milk, but in this case it's more controlled, so they can fortify, and they do fortify.
So, every episode we learn so much. Like today, in just the 10 minutes of discussion, I've already learned this whole 6 months mein vitamin D kitna zaruri hota hai. And I never really, I'm sorry, but I didn't know about this. And now I'm going to get Kavish for all the tests to check if everything is okay, because I never gave him that extra vitamin D. But yes, he did have a lot of top feed which was fortified with vitamin D. So otherwise he looks like a happy and active baby.
It's all good.
So
yes.
Yeah. So Dr. Sonal, since you've already initiated the topic of breastfeeding is a very elaborate topic, and we're going to touch it completely in a different episode. We will talk about everything from fore milk to hind milk to the importance of it. But talking about child's nutrition and not talking about breastfeeding would just be somewhere very weird. So let's talk about it a little bit. I want to know that what is the importance of breastfeeding for the mother and for the child.
So breastfeeding is a biological norm. I mean, if you're giving birth, you will of course lactate. Okay, so it is very natural, very instinctive. Plus, it's a great start that a mother can give to a child, which can last a lifetime. It has multiple benefits, including your necessary protein, your necessary minerals, your necessary immunity. In fact, it's often said is the first vaccine, the colostrum that we talk about, is the first vaccine that the child is getting from the mother. It's an immune, a power dose of immune is what I would say. And so to get this started, it's important that you initiate, at least the mothers who are yet to deliver, it's important that you initiate breastfeeding within the first hour of birth. Okay, because that's most likely when your baby is going to root to you. Exactly. No, not catch infections. It's going to root to you and it's going to do very naturally. Also, sucking is a in utero reflex, So baby has been sucking inside the mother's tummy. So sucking outside is not going to be any different. But to keep it on is going to be a challenge. So talking about the nutritional benefits, one is I told you the immunoglobulins, which develops immunity. As we know, the newborn, also like I was speaking before about the infant mortality rate, so the most vulnerable of that, half of them are the vulnerable in the first newborn period, which is from 0 to 28 days. In the mother's womb, they have been all protected, they're all covered, like literally inner womb care, what we say. Outside, they are exposed to environment, in the air. The skin is also a very great barrier, but also if it comes in contact with certain germs, they could get some infections. So it's breast milk that will continue the immunity while the mother is breastfeeding through the 6 months. And then of course you have the vaccinations which simultaneously protects the baby. So one is your immunity, second is your protein, like at birth an average Indian baby should weigh between 2.5 to 3.5. That's an average statistical data for Indian babies. It doubles the birth weight for an exclusively breastfed baby by 5th month. So imagine the amount of nutrition that a breast milk contains to get that kind of a weight gain. So it's your nutritional component, it's an emotional attachment. Also, like we talk of health, health is in totality, physical, which you see in the growth, and mental, and also emotional. Similarly, the mother feels in charge, like she also bonds very well. A mother goes through a lot of hormonal surges, drops, like through the pregnancy and during even postpartum phase. So this keeps her more at peace and secure. Similarly for the child. So these are very important factors which would help the mother, the infant, also the environment. If there is no formula, of course, the environment load reduces, and socio-economically. If the child is formula fed, the amount of expenses, top feeds, bottle, hygiene, hygiene, sterilizing is taken care of. Diarrhea, also it means like you're confused, because everything you're calculating. Doctor, how many ml do I need to give my child now that he weighs? Breastfeeding, it's easy, convenient, hassle-free. So that's how it is. So I think it's an absolute magic potion. I tell the mothers usually, even little you give, you've tried your best. That's what is important.
Right. Yeah. So Elena, what's your take on
Yeah,
this?
so like she said, breast milk is very tailor-made, I would say. It cannot provide, like if you compare it with formula milk is standard. But if you see breast milk, when the child is sick, the components vary. When the child is premature, the components vary. So, and like even for different birth weights, the components vary. So it's sort of a natural immunization. So the immunoglobulin A, which is present in the milk, is like, what it does is it coats the respiratory system and the digestive system with a coating, a layer which prevents the germs from entering inside, and that's how the child is prevented from catching infections.
And also it has probiotics. I forgot to mention. So you need to have a certain, like we talk of microbiota, good bacteria, prebiotics. So exactly. So your mother's
it's sort of an antibiotic. So it protects the child from a lot of
diseases. Yes, and even long term.
Even long term. What I find surprising though is, a lot of women, what they do is when they produce in the beginning and suddenly they may see a drop in the production, they give up very quickly. Some may have reasons and some just give up. The problem is we don't doubt our bodies when we conceive and throughout pregnancy, because we feel our body is capable of forming a child. But when it comes to breastfeeding, suddenly we doubt our bodies, like our body cannot produce unless there is a problem for which you can consult and meet lactation experts. But then otherwise you need to just keep trying, and that's how you can, unless you have any medical issues, most women can successfully lactate without any.
So we will talk more about this on a separate episode. And now that you've already opened up the the point of immunization, let's talk about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, that they say you inject a virus into a body to make an antivirus for other viruses that could be more dangerous, right? So in the West now they've started this whole thing where they don't want to inject the baby with the virus, and I think that's where this whole no immunization space has started.
So now it's a big myth for vaccinations. I mean, there are many of them who have got a platform to talk against vaccine, but they are talking from a society where the vaccination rates have been extremely high. So when does the infection rate drop? When the germs in the environment are less. When do you achieve that? So vaccinations are targeted not for all kind of viruses. We all keep on getting common cold, even as adults, once in a month, which is all okay. But viruses are targeting against serious illnesses which occur in the first, again going back to under 5 mortality. Under 5, where it could affect you to a level that yes, the child could die. B, there could be so much of morbidity. The oral polio vaccine that we are doing, polio vaccinations. These are so important because it should not leave your child physically or mentally disabled.
So let's talk about what exactly are the reasons we should vaccine a child, in terms of which are those diseases, or those deadly diseases.
Yes, so world over, usually the government aids. Even in India, the government does provide the necessary and the basic 6 preventable diseases. Your most common being diphtheria, pertussis and tetanus. So diphtheria is the whooping cough. Diphtheria is the infection which you get with infected wounds. Pertussis is the whooping cough, which you must have heard as kali khansi.
Yes.
Okay, and tetanus is the one which because of the cuts and injuries you get, because of which you could have to even amputate.
Yeah.
So even if we get injuries, we go to a doctor and your medical practitioner, may recommend you a tetanus if you've not taken for long. So these are the infections which are mandatory to be covered. Your measles, okay, that rash, I think there was a campaign in between, if you're aware, the MR campaign.
Yeah.
So these are national programs to eliminate these contagious diseases.
What are measles? I really want people to know, maybe because we've heard this since we were children,
Yes.
but it's time to talk about it straight on the face,
So measles is a virus which could, you could get contacted if it circulates in the air. Okay, you could get fever, mild fever, you could get a rash, like if you say it would look like a red rash all over the baby's cheeks and the rest of the body. The child could cough because of getting complications of measles, which is a pneumonia. There could be an eye discharge, there could be a very bad runny nose, and also in certain cases meningitis. So which is actually fatal. And if there's one contact, the secondary attack rate in medical term that we say, if one child has measles, it's 99% chance if your child is not vaccinated against measles, he could contact it. So you understand the contagiousity. And here, so it's very important that all the kids through the age, you're vulnerable till 15 years. So all the kids between 0 to 15 should at least have participated in this MR campaign which was going the rounds. So,
Yes,
sure.
What about influenza? Do you think it's necessary for kids?
So yes, influenza. See, whenever we talk of influenza, which is swine flu, commonly called as swine flu, that is also could be fatal. So children in vulnerable age group, till 5 years is recommended. After 5 years, you would come to know how your child's immunity is in general. Right. If he doesn't have allergies, he's a good thriver, then you can skip it. So your pediatrician best would recommend, is it necessary for your child or not? Yes.
So what more? What more are the diseases?
So like I told you, DPT, injectable polio which we give, or the oral polio which is part of the government aided program, measles vaccinations, rubella vaccinations, then comes your BCG, which is TB is so rampant in India.
Yes.
So doing the TB vaccinations, hepatitis B, again, which is usually bloodborne, or it could be even transferred during the childbirth from mother to child. So these are one of the common vaccinations which are very, very mandatory that your child should receive.
Alina, what are the common food allergies or intolerances that we can notice in a child before we rush the child to the pediatrician?
So allergies and intolerances, basically they're very confusing because they have overlapping symptoms sometimes. So let me clarify this first, what is the difference? So intolerance is basically when a body doesn't, some people may not have the enzyme required to assimilate or metabolize that particular food. For example, say lactose intolerance. So milk has a sugar called lactose and it requires an enzyme called lactase to break it down. But in certain people it is absent, and because of which they may have digestive issues they may have diarrhea or gas or flatulence. And allergies are basically when a body does not recognize food as food. It looks at it as an invader and it sort of attacks it, which is why we will see a variety of symptoms. It can be digestive, they have wheezing, cough, they may have rashes, burns, red marks, a lot of things. So when we look at intolerances, these symptoms are very specific to the digestive tract. You may have, these areas like your intestine, your stomach, they may all be related to or specified to those areas only. But
children need a wide range of nutrition to be able to meet their daily nutrient intake requirements. So just to simplify it for the parents, because mothers are especially racking their brains between balancing everything out, and then child nutrition plays a really crucial role. How do we simplify this for parents?
Yeah, so especially it could be a challenge for a toddler because they are not interested in their meal times. So one is we have to make sure that the food looks attractive.
Yeah.
There are family meal times the meals should not be, you shouldn't be running behind a child to feed him. So your lunchtime, dinner time, make your child sit down on a high chair. Let him explore the food. Offer him different food groups, everything that you're eating. So by the time your child is 1 year, we encourage family pot meals. So whatever you cook at home, same thing goes to your child. Of course, minus some salt and very less sugar. And I think we can go ahead with a my plate approach.
What I do for my daughter is I use a very fancy looking section plate. It has different sections, and each section I have dedicated to a different food group. So one section has some nuts, one section has some fruits, one section has some green leafy vegetables, one section has some form of protein that can be chicken or pulses or dal, and one section has a cereal, which is the backbone, which can be rice or chapati. So that way the child will get different textures, different colors and different nutrients all together given to him, and he or she can pick and choose what she wants in whatever form that he or she likes to eat. And that way, when you give the child the independence to select, he will feel or she will feel more empowered, and you don't have to run behind him or her, you have to eat this. Respect the child's choices. If he's not accepting some food, you can completely omit that and try later. That is one thing. Second is trying to change your approach, your mindset. Don't use food for bribing. Don't say, eat this, I will give you a chocolate. That way you are changing you're telling the child that the chocolate is good, the food is not. So if you eat this, I will give you a good thing. If you really want to bribe, which is not encouraged, tell the child, I will give you a fruit or a piece of date or maybe something that sort, so that the child has a positive approach towards food and does not take food in a negative.
Rather use alternative rewards, like you can take him for a play date to his favorite play center, or do sleepovers. In fact, food should never be used as an incentive or a reward. That's one thing when we tell the parents. Yes.
I think I'm going to start practicing that one very soon. So now that we're talking about food, I want to ask you, the junk food challenge is so real, right? Especially in our fast-paced lives, we ourselves are stuffing our faces with junk food, let alone the child. So could you tell us, is junk food bad, and is it a major reason for child obesity?
Yeah, so junk food is a lifestyle, obesity especially is a lifestyle disease. It is directly proportionate to the food that you consume. So it is high in salt, it is of very, very less nutritive value. It is also usually, it has trans fatty acids, which if it is fried, it has certain additives and preservatives, like Ajinomoto. Yes, high fructose, high glycemic index. So once you eat it, so that's why they say nobody can eat one, that some advertisement is there. They make it look so attractive. And kids love those packaging sounds, and along with it, they add some flavors, this tutti frutti flavors. In fact, even as a teething toothpaste, which they usually introduce, they make it flavored. So try to cut down on flavors, so you should be going more blender. So talking about this junk food, so also it's important that we act as a good role model. So kids always are learning looking at their parents. Especially after 1 year old, the child, if you say, that's a milestone check at 1 year. It's called parallel play. Whatever mama does, your child will repeat it, replicate, and try to imitate. So it's important that how you conduct. So that's why you say you don't raise your child, you raise being a parent, So it's very important how you conduct yourself on your dining table with your child, and the way you eat, the way you involve yourself in the kitchen, like even taking your child to the grocery store. You pick up a thing, it looks attractive, but read it loud to your child. This is the food label. This is what it says. And you can drop it there. No, this doesn't sound good. So he gets an idea, yes, my mother has taken efforts in picking up a stuff which is looking good, but it's not really good. So that is important. So getting a child involved, it may not sound so fun, but go to a grocery store. You can further follow it up with some good fun-filled activity, but ensure that your child is participating at every stage in the eating process, and it's not straight on the table.
Right, and it's not boring for you too. So you start looking forward to these fun activities.
Absolutely.
And this is like you can involve your child in your daily routine actually. So you will obviously go to the supermarket to buy vegetables. So might as well take your child and convert that into quality time as well.
select the food or the vegetable that he likes, and then take him in the kitchen, make him stand beside you, ask him to cut with you, put something inside the bowl, mix it and stir. So he becomes he gets more involved, and that brings excitement. I have prepared this, now I'll eat it. So yeah.
Superb. So the biggest question, how do I get my kid to eat vegetables? You already mentioned that, these are the 5 things that one can keep.
What I do is, I'll tell you, I take veggies and I chop them finely, and I either puree it and I add it to parathas, to puris, to pastas. You may find this very interesting. What you can do is you can just grind vegetable. When you prepare pasta, just add some seasoning and you're sorted. It's very easy to prepare. You can also mix smoothies. Like spinach with banana and strawberry is a super hit because it is a combination of iron with vitamin C, which means better absorption, and it tastes amazing. So yeah, you can include these veggies in various foods that you give.
Starting early is important. So like you were talking about baby-led weaning before. So introducing these finger foods, just bland vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower, the carrot stick, beetroot, non-choking food items, keeping them on the high chair, the child looking at different colors, so playing with the colors, looking at the food, and the child explores. Exactly. So mouthing is a reflex again. Everything they're teething in that phase. In fact, they want every time something to bite on. They may not eat it, but they may bite on. So your taste buds and all are getting activated. Yeah, so they're developing. So keeping it handy is important. So your child is not averse towards it. And we have to remember there are 10 attempts before you really say that fine, my child doesn't have a taste for this.
So if suppose it's carrot, you can try gajar ka halwa, doesn't work. Try soup, doesn't work. Try putting.
So if you try the halwa, the flip side is he'll never love the soup. So go bland first. Yeah.
So you can try various. What I'm saying is, you can try various forms and textures, and in different recipes. Yeah. But don't force the child. It's okay. Respect his choices. If he doesn't like it, wait for some time and then try again.
Yeah, and hunger is an instinct. So you don't have to teach him to give the right choices. Be the provider. Make sure you're providing the right stuff, and then let him choose.
So again, it's a good way to connect, to make that bond with your child. Superb. So now let me ask you, we've also spoken about obesity in a lot of places today. But why is obesity such a black mark on the page? Why is it not good? Let's talk about it.
So basically, when a person is a child, when he's under 2, there are 2 things, okay? There are fat cells, the number of fat cells, and the size of fat cells. The number of fat cells means the number of fat cells that we have is decided before 2 years, the way the child is fed until 2 years of age. So until then, only the numbers increase. So whatever fat you feed the child will only increase in numbers but not in size. It is after 2 years that the size increases. So if at all someone is fed with a lot of fat in the initial 2 years, he will have more number of fat cells, which means he may be leaner at that stage. He may not be fat, he may look very thin. But when he grows up, and whatever he eats will go to these fat cells and they will enlarge. And no matter how much he'll try to diet or whatever, he will never lose enough fat because the number is always standard. It is always stagnant. It will not decrease. You can only control the size of fat cells, but you cannot control the number. The number is only controlled until 2 years of age, which is why not feeding excessive fat or sugar to the child when he's under 2 is very important. You should always maintain moderation there.
Also, obesity is a modern epidemic. So now obesity is not for only adults. Childhood obesity means you're going to get the same dysfunctions in your body way early. Like getting blood pressure, if you're initially traditionally people used to get at 50, 60, 70. We have been recording blood pressure for routine childhood examinations as early as 2 years is recommended. Your hypertension, your blood pressure, your extra fat deposits, your renal dysfunctions, your heart dysfunction, your liver dysfunction. So these all could, it's a cumulative effect. So that's why catch it early. Plot your child. So that's why periodic health examinations are important. And also weight should not be a one-point assessment. It's a curve that matters. Are you faring good? How the parents are. The milestones are. How the parents constitutional, like we say.
And also genetics.
Elena, multivitamin intake for children is bad.
Not bad, but not really necessary. If you feel that you can provide your child with sufficient nutrients, which I'm sure you can, you don't really need to depend on a multivitamin.
Dr. Sonal, do infants need supplements? You already answered.
Yes. So yeah, it is specific. Yes.
Elena, dairy products aren't good for children.
That's a myth. Because dairy products, it depends from like the source of the products that you're getting. If you're able to procure organic, well-maintained dairy products, then it's no problem at all. But if they are injected with hormones and antibodies, then that's a problem.
Correct.
So it depends on the source again.
Parents are role models in educating children to establish healthy eating habits. You already mentioned that they're like mirrors. So this is not a myth, it's a fact.
It's a fact.
And what are the emerging childhood problems that are unforeseen, that you feel that obesity being one of them?
Yes, obesity being one of them. Then there's another one called metabolic syndrome X, which is again about diabetes. How in spite of having enough insulin, your pancreas is working harder to bring down that sugar. So insulin resistance is one. A lot of, even I would like to bring in light about a lot of mental health issues. Usually kids, we feel they're fine. Nowadays I even get calls from parents who have kids of like in 8th standard, 7th standard, who come home and talk about feeling low. So this is also again, yes, stress, mood disorders, even depression, peer pressure, being bullied. So this is all there. Just be there for your child, give a lending ear and take the necessary help when it's necessary.
Great. So I think we've spoken about quite a few serious topics here, but they are the need of the hour, and every parent needs to be responsible enough to be able to think deeply and know deeply or procure knowledge from the net, whether it is, but the best is your pediatrician and your nutritionist to do that, because the internet is full of so many diverse people posting random stuff. How do you know that which one to pick? So I believe platforms like this, where genuine people are coming together and sharing their knowledge and insights, is where we should look out for information. So here at TMC, we believe that motherhood is a mixed bag of so many emotions: love, laughter, sacrifices. So we're going to be playing some games here, because we try to make a small vibe of that big definition of motherhood here at the TMC studio. So are you ready? Yes. Superb. So don't say baby. That's the name of the game. You have to pick up a chit. Now there are random words and sentences that include baby. You have to read it out fast and loud and skip the word baby. Now whoever says baby the maximum number of times loses. Ready? Your turn first. Okay. Alright.
Oh, there are long letters.
Come on, go for it.
I have a but. The have is not the I have. I have, if the I have was the I had, then I would be a myself.
That was good. You didn't say baby. Wow.
Hi, my name is Bear. This is a story that happened one day when mommy and went away. Hi, said daddy. Does love daddy or daddy loves? That's it.
Too good. Let's give it a...
Twinkle little star, how I wonder which you are. Up, up the world so high. My little, please don't sigh.
Wow. I'm telling you, girls are super good.
How much would the chuck chuck if the chuck would chuck the...
You were gonna say it.
So we have no losers.
You have no losers. I lose. I should have come up with a better game. The second game we're gonna play is Clay Baby. Alright, so here's the Play-Doh or clay. You have to just take it on your plate and make a baby. We're gonna give you 5 minutes to make a baby, and let's see who makes a cuter baby. Ready? We have come to the end of the episode, and as as a gesture of our love for yours, we'd like to present you with the Motherhood Chronicles Gratitude Trunk. Thank you so much for being on the show today and for spending your valuable time and knowledge. Nutrition is important at every age. A child needs proper nutrients to grow healthy and strong. Studies have shown that a balanced and nutritious diet can impact the overall development and growth of a child. According to UNICEF in India, 44% of the children under the age of 5 are underweight. By 2030, United Nations aims to improve the problem of child malnutrition. And that made me pick up child nutrition as an important topic of discussion for today. Getting children to eat healthy food can sometimes be an uphill battle. The greener and leafier the food, the bigger the battle. At the same time, sometimes we think to ourselves कि हम तो यही खा के बड़े हुए हैं. We've eaten chocolates when we were kids. But let's ask ourselves a simple question. Are we the best version of ourselves? Don't we want our children to be healthier than us? Child nutrition is incredibly important. It helps establish a foundation of healthy eating habits of a child right through adulthood. This show is about motherhood, and motherhood stands for love. The Motherhood Chronicles of my mom have been so exemplary that she raised me as a father and a mother. Therefore, I believe that there is a mother in every father and a father in every mother. This is Nisha Rawal signing off until we meet next in a new episode with a new panel and a new topic. Until then, happy Motherhood Chronicles.